maybe one day AI Roy will be here. You won't even know the difference. I'll just be. That's a scary thing. I think at a certain point, being able to discern what's reality and what's not is going to get increasingly more difficult as AI gets increasingly more sophisticated, and videos are able to be created that are indistinguishable from a regular video. There are already companies like specializing in that, where they're like, I can't remember the name of it, but I saw this the other day, and they were like, you can use our service, upload any video recordings, audio, any pictures of your loved one, and you'll be able to have a conversation with them whenever you want and just chat with them.
Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 63. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy. Roy, how are you?
I am so full, Jamie. I had so much food.
Did you?
Well, I did a few hours ago. I'm still very full. I had a bucket of fried chicken from KFC.
Oh,
That'll
my
do
God.
it, right? That'll do it.
That will do it. A whole bucket that's a lot.
I didn't eat the entire bucket, but we ordered a bucket, and I just had a craving. Actually, the craving stems from we're doing what we used to do and immediately segueing off topic into food, but people say they like that. I was in the Philippines last week in Manila, and they have they're one of two countries, I think, in the world where the local fast food chain has more
Jollibee.
Jollibee, yes, more outlets than McDonald's. I'm kind of impressed you knew that. Did I mention it to you, or you already knew that?
No, you absolutely did not. I believe Anthony Bourdain taught me about Jollibee.
It's very good, and one of their specialties is their fried chicken, and it's basically similar to KFC hot and spicy chicken, but just better. It's juicier, and the
fried chicken is very delicious.
Oh, so good. And it's an interesting. They also do this really good burger, and it's like a really plain, simple. It's like brioche bun, fried chicken that's really tender and juicy, and just some.
That's not a burger anymore. A burger is like a hamburger patty situation to me. You're just talking about a sandwich. Completely. You're talking about a sandwich.
No. You're being American here.
So a burger is just any sandwich to you?
No, a burger is something that
it's all about the bun.
Burger buns, yeah.
I disagree.
Well, anyway, it's really delicious, and
that's a chicken sandwich you're talking about, a fried chicken sandwich.
Basically, yeah, what you would think. But
have you had the Wendy's one? This is ridiculous. That we're
I have not had a Wendy's one.
The Wendy's one is one of the best fast food sandwiches for sure.
Well, this was one of the best I've ever had.
Chicken sandwich. It's really good.
Oh.
By the way, this is so funny. But the first time I got deep in the main event, every single dinner break, I would drive down to the Wendy's, get a spicy crispy chicken sandwich, and then head back to play. Wow. Fun fact: they're so good. Yeah. And then at one point, I started ordering them with extra mayo, which is kind of disgusting, but kind of delicious.
That is kind of disgusting. Speaking of extra mayo, I was making grilled cheese sandwiches the other day, and someone told me you should lace the outside.
Instead of with butter, mayo. People do mayo. I've never done it, but I've heard.
I've done that with steak. Instead, you sear a steak in mayo, and that's. I think you might have told me about that, but anyway, idea. I want to get back to the thing that I was initially sidetracked on, talking about Jollibee, and their menu is kind of all over the place. They've got fried chicken, they've got burgers. It looked weird when They've got spaghetti with cut up hot dogs. Everything you get is served with rice. They love their rice in the Philippines. I'm from India. I've traveled in Asia a lot, and a lot of people eat rice. But in the Philippines, it's I feel like the average person eats 3 times as much rice as, say, India, which is already kind of crazy.
We should look up per capita rice consumption for the trivia at the end.
At the end, we'll have a guessing game. And
well, you are inherently guessing Philippines for top 5 or something like that. So that can be the contest.
And we'll do a giveaway. So watch till the end, and maybe you get a chance.
Should we transition this?
Should we try to talk about NFTs, crypto, DeFi, random stuff?
Genuinely, I would love for this podcast to completely transition to where we literally just talk about whatever we want. But I think we need to grow it more before we just tell people, by the way, this is just a chat between two friends.
We've got a really strong, loyal listenership, I would say. True. I love our listeners. Our listeners are amazing. And and they love us for us. Like,
and some of them have specifically said we want more food talk up top. Just
exactly.
while we're doing it, I just had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I believe grape is the correct answer for which jelly. You know, in America, it's a big thing: strawberry or grape. Strawberry or grape. I'm a grape guy. Now,
well, I mean, yeah.
In Australia, is that what you ate in school? Is that a big school item?
Wasn't a big thing. Well, for starters, we don't call what you call jelly. For us, jelly is
jam.
We call it jam. Yeah.
Do you know the difference between jelly and jam?
I used to. It's like whether it's smooth or chunky.
I can't jelly my dick in your ass.
Oh God.
That's my wife's favorite joke.
Okay. There's an actual difference though between jelly, jam. There's another one, marmalade. Marmalade's like a citrus
preserves.
thing.
There's all sorts
preserves.
Of
but yeah, growing up, we did not have PB&J sandwiches much. I don't know if it was just a me thing. We had, people had peanut butter sandwiches.
Just peanut butter?
I think so. Yeah.
So
peanut butter.
This is so funny that we can't stop. But locally, there's another sandwich called a fluffernutter, which is peanut butter and fluff.
That is such a crazy name for a.
Yeah, it is. It's basically like a liquefied marshmallow. So that was a sort of a common.
It sounds healthy.
Yeah, it was not. But probably equally healthy to jelly. It's just a bunch of sugar, right?
Right.
I guess a bit more artificial. But that was sort of a common thing around here, but not really the rest of the country. All right, let's reluctantly start talking about crypto and NFT stuff. Roy, go ahead.
Let's get into all the NFT stuff, the DeFi, the random stuff. Probably not the DeFi. We never talk about DeFi. But before we do, we do a little bit. We do a little bit occasionally, rarely. When there's a big like hack or something, we go into DeFi. But we have brand new sponsors, Evaluate Market, and so we're going to hear a word from them. This episode is sponsored by Evaluate Market, which you can find at evaluate.xyz. Evaluate.xyz is the first live NFT swapping platform on both the Ethereum and Flow blockchains. It has a built-in chat feature where users can meet other NFT collectors, negotiate deals, and live swap NFTs in a secure trading lobby. More than 1 million collectors have already used it to manage their Flow and Ethereum NFTs. Start meeting new collectors instantly and swap NFTs by visiting evaluate.xyz. Back to the show. News of the week. Jamie, what happened this week?
You mean within the context of the subject of the podcast?
Yes, crypto related, NFT related.
Okay, I think the biggest one was Uniswap getting into NFTs. They had acquired Gem. Is that how that all started?
They acquired Genie. OpenSea acquired Gem. Uniswap acquired Genie months ago, like 6 months ago. I want to say that happened.
But then Uniswap basically folded that into their thing, and it looks pretty slick on their website. And it's basically they're just kind of trying to aggregate the NFT market. And I wonder to what degree they're going to work on liquidity and stuff like that, because they obviously have a lot of money and people really playing with the financial side of crypto, right? Because they are the main Ethereum DeFi website.
They are.
So it'll be interesting to see if and what changes it brings to the NFT market. And they also did a small airdrop. I think it wasn't eligible, which seemed weird. But
that does seem weird.
When I checked my wallet, it said no.
I think anyone that used Genie prior to April 15th or something like that.
I might have used Gem instead or something else.
Yeah, and maybe there's some minimum amount you had to have bought or something.
Yeah, I definitely never used that a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. And the airdrop was, interestingly, in USDC, not some sort of native
that is actually
Uni token or other tokens. So they airdropped a total of 5 million USDC.
It was
anyone that used the
300 per wallet, right?
300 per wallet. Except they had like some other tier where I think if you owned one of their NFTs, like they sold Uniswap NFTs
they had
ages
Unisocks
ago. The socks, Unisocks,
famous.
Then those people got a $2,000 airdrop, so kind of nice for them. But I think it's still you can still go check and see if you're eligible. So if you think you might have used Genie earlier in the year, definitely go to uniswap.org, app.uniswap.org, and check to see if you're eligible. Free $300 is in the bear market, nothing. Well, even in a bull market, but nothing to sneeze home about.
Sneeze home about, right? That's
is that a phrase?
No, it's not. You write home about something, or you sneeze at something. You don't sneeze at home.
I love coming up with sayings. You know what I was doing the other day? Again, to get off topic, I was asking OpenAI, ChatGPT, to invent new words, and I was like, let's see if we can just like Shakespeare
How
invented
did
so
it
many
do?
new words. It it did okay. It wasn't fantastic at it. It did invent a few new words, but it was mostly taking like two obscure words and like mashing them together
Hmm.
and being like, oh, this could mean this. And
That's probably
I
what
asked them to
happens a
add the
good amount of the time.
definitions as well. Yeah, I'd love to know how Shakespeare went about. Like he invented like hundreds of new words, and it seems like he just plucked them out of thin air. He wasn't just building off something else. Um,
I bet you there's scholars that have
mm.
some sort of answer for you, but I'm not that person.
I bet we could ask ChatGPT. Like,
Or our listeners. I bet you we've got some smart
I have no
Shakespearean
doubt.
scholar listeners.
I have no doubt.
Listeners,
What
if
were
you
we
know
talking
about
about?
Shakespeare inventing words, you invented words with an AI the other day.
Yeah. No. I mean, like before we got sidetracked to
We were talking about
Uniswap.
Uniswap,
Yeah.
news of the week in general. We can move on to Stripe now if you'd like to,
One
or the
last thing, I
royalty
think.
thing. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, the royalty thing is interesting. Obviously, it's been. Anyway, I just want to say, like, the Uniswap thing is because of how huge Uniswap is as a protocol and how many people just use it as their default place to go swap tokens. The fact that they now anyone that goes to use their app, it's got like this little pop up in the corner and tells people about, hey, we now aggregate NFT collections and listings. It's on
Yeah.
their website. It's very. I think it's just more visibility for the market. It's just a good net positive, and will just overall drive more value to
Right.
collections. So,
And then their position on royalties could be a natural segue for the conversation into that other.
I actually don't. Well, so they're an aggregator. So they aren't a marketplace themselves, I believe.
They're just
Genie is
using
just an aggregator.
everybody else's
Correct. So they will just whatever the marketplaces
contracts.
that everyone else are listed on, they will enforce those royalties. They have to enforce those royalties. Yeah.
Okay.
How much have you been following the royalty saga over the last like 1 or 2 weeks?
Not a ton. I know OpenSea made a big sort of announcement or change, and a lot of people had pretty strong feelings about it. It seemed like mostly negative, and then the people that were less negative were kind of talking about how their hands are tied or something to that effect. But I have not followed it as closely as clearly you have.
I'm not going to rehash the entire history of royalties over this year. We've spoken about it before. People probably already know and are kind of sick to death probably of it. But new stuff has happened recently. And so what happened is OpenSea announced they will not honor creator royalties for new collections unless people use a snippet of code in their smart contract that effectively blocks trading on other marketplaces that don't enforce royalties
Of that NFT.
Of that NFT collection. And
I don't
as
care
a
for that.
creator, right? As a creator, it kind of makes sense that yes, if you want royalties, it kind of makes sense to only allow trading on a marketplace that enforces royalties. It obviously makes the asset a lot more centralized and erodes away the decentralized nature of this space. I think
Right.
that,
And also it makes it not centralized around like the creator of the NFT project, which is sort of an inherent thing to a lot of NFT projects, but to this other thing that you have no
OpenSea.
control over.
Yeah, which is really
who
terrible.
we have seen a lot of times in the past, just be slow to change things and all sorts of negative things, as well as good. I mean, I assume you read the Snowfro thing today. They're not perfect and they're not evil, but
no,
to be totally beholden to them as a creator is rough.
It's just not ideal. I mean, we owe so much to OpenSea, like so much of everything that we've done and built and traded.
I mean, we feel like we were so early to NFTs, right? But OpenSea was around for years before we even knew what they were. With a big marketplace product, right?
Yeah, and they are fighting really hard for creator royalties, which I think is
sort of.
Yeah, it's
as long as they happen on their platform.
Right.
Which is different than actually fighting for it.
Yeah. It's hard to know their true and pure incentives, et cetera. But they, I think, announced today that they are forming some sort of decentralized body panel where they're partnering with Manifold, Foundation, Super Rare, and I think 2 other pretty large and notable platforms that will sort of control the registry. So instead of OpenSea controlling it, now it's this conglomerate of many marketplaces or industry leaders, which I think
Right.
is obviously better than just OpenSea.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And I think that they said that starting next year, which is next month, for collections that don't block their competitors, the royalties will be optional on OpenSea. So that's kind
Instead
of
of
good as well,
forced to
rather than just
zero.
being forced to zero, which I think is a big step in the right direction.
Right.
So, but yeah, there was a ton of backlash and a lot of people and projects. I mean, there was definitely a lot of support, but a lot of backlash because people, a lot of OGs in the space and like decentralization maximalists and people that were attracted to the space by the the nature of owning a decentralized, fully owning something where you have sovereignty over it and you don't have to trust someone else. You don't need someone else's permission to do what you want with your asset. That's the whole reason crypto exists in the first place, and the whole reason that NFTs kind of became so cool was, hey, now we can have digital assets aside from coins that we don't have to rely on the government or Apple or for like Epic or whoever, and now we can do what we want. And now all of a sudden pieces are being added into code that erode away at that sovereignty. So
Right.
a lot of backlash and ongoing saga and yada
Yeah.
yada yada.
And so the reasoning, not the reasoning, but the reason, I guess is a better word, that they probably did this is because of how much competition there is in the marketplace space at this point, and a lot of these competitors are cutting out the royalties, which is making the financially incentivized NFT buyers and sellers just way prefer those. And
Yeah.
you know, OpenSea went from having what 98% of whatchamacallit
Volume.
yeah,
Market share, trading volume.
market share. And I've certainly seen that eroded as more and more competitors have joined
Yeah,
in.
I think it's like 40 to 50% now, which
And
is
I mean, that's a
wild.
scary, fast, big drop for a company that's, you know, valued at 13 billion at last I heard, and probably hasn't found a way yet to turn it. You know, when things were going the craziest, certainly they were profitable on a day-to-day basis, but things are not. Money's not coming into them
Right.
the way
Yeah.
it
Like
once was.
this is happening in conjunction with a really devastating bear
Right.
market.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
all the money backing OpenSea is probably scared shitless right now, and so you can understand why they would maybe try something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a finicky and nuanced situation. I think I wrote this like 6 months ago, and I think that we're basically in a race to zero for royalties and platform fees for like large collections when there's a significant percentage of people that just care about maximizing profit. The market will find a way to make that as efficient as they can. And you know, whether if the existing marketplaces say they're going to honor royalties, then a new marketplace will pop up, and then a new marketplace will pop up, and people will go peer to peer, and there will always be workarounds. And so the only way, like, royalties are a cultural thing; they can't be enforced. And well, all right, it actually gets a little more complicated because they're actually a legal thing as well in certain parts of the world. I know in the European Union and in Australia, at least, you have to pay royalties to artists above.
America has royalties as well.
Yeah, I don't trust
certainly.
America to do good things like that, so I didn't throw them in there. But yeah, for like resale of art over certain prices, then you owe royalties to the initial artist. So
yeah, so
that's a whole
that
other
I don't think
thing.
actually exists in America, but definitely we have music royalties that are a huge
Right,
thing.
right. Yeah. I'm talking like specifically about the you know, the art JPEG type royalties. Yeah, so that hasn't been explored yet. And then like certain projects have in their terms and conditions, you have to pay royalties, like Artifact has, and I think VFriends has, and maybe Proof has as well. I don't actually I don't think Proof has it. Whatever. It's it's just a messy situation, and I think that we should fight for the culture of supporting artists. That's like so much of this space has been built off the back of that.
Yeah.
And that's why this is so awesome and incredible. And just like pay your royalties. I get if you're a trader and you're trading some large collection, you probably still should pay royalties if the project, like when you buy it, you sort of inherently agreeing to
Yeah, you're
buy
implicitly
and agree to
agreeing to the
the
deal, which
rules.
includes royalties. That's the
Yeah,
way I see it.
it just gets, it's so tricky when, let's say, 90% of people trading the collection are not paying royalties, but then you are,
Yeah,
so
you
then
have
you
a
list
tragedy
higher,
of the
and
commons situation happening for
you're like,
sure.
if you're always getting undercut by people who are not paying royalties, then your item will just never sell. And then if you need liquidity, you have to sell much below, whatever. It's
Yeah,
complicated, but just pay your royalties.
and it's also easy to just justify that. Hey, I need this 2.5% of the sale price more than Yuga Labs does. Like that's a very easy thing for almost every human on earth to justify if they want to. You know,
Yeah.
that's sort of the nature of being like an individual or whatever, and selfishness.
Yeah.
You're talking about how the race to zero. I feel like when Looks Rare came out, the next episode we recorded, we talked pretty extensively about that. How it's like, well, they've cut the fee in half, but
Right.
really, that once you have everything up and running, this is all frictionless digital bits
Yeah.
getting transferred, not even on your own servers, on the Ethereum blockchain, right?
Yeah.
And so the percentage that it's realistic for you to be able to take long term is, an asymptote just above zero, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And we saw that, like, it was OpenSea 2.5. I think Looks was 2, but they gave it back to the community. And then X2Y2 was maybe less, and then Sudo was 0.5, and then Blur is 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's far from done, so it'll kind of be interesting to see. Like what? Here's another question, right? That's sort of obvious. What is the funding mechanism for so many of these sort of profile picture club-esque projects? The existing ones are royalties, selling secondary and tertiary collections, and merch, basically, is that. And if you get rid of this one, the market is already feeling like it's been flooded with this one, and I did not mean to do this,
but that's kind of how most people feel about paying a lot for much.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is a lot of people go, I have this $9,000 NFT from your project, and now you want me to also pay $50 for a hoodie? Like, you can't give me a hoodie or whatever. Which, totally validity in both directions, I would say. But again, when you're cutting out the royalties now, where is the money coming from for these entities to continue to build?
Yeah, I think we're going to see more exploration of different models. Like the Nouns model is really fascinating. And I think Valhalla is doing some hybrid where their 10K collection, they sold 9,000, and they said 1,000 they're reserving, and they're just going to sell via a Noun style auction over the next, I don't know, 3 years, one a day, and bring in revenue every single day. And that's, it's, if the project's doing well and the floor price is up, then they're going to generate more revenue. And so I think that's a pretty cool approach. I think subscription models, I think for like these membership clubs, it's like, it's kind of cool. It kind of like erodes away the like permanence and everything about NFTs to an extent. But I think it also makes some sense. And maybe like hybrid models where you have some tiers that are like lifetime, like 1,000 lifetime, and then more yearly based at a cheaper price and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's sort of almost a catch-22 to where if your project is successful, like all the models seem to work for generating revenue. But if your project is not popular, doesn't really, there's no way to structure the financial stuff around the cultural thing if nobody cares about the cultural thing in a way that can continue to get you funding to put the money back into the project itself, because nobody cares about it. I feel like there's so many projects now. We've warned probably a million times about the tier 3, so to speak, level profile picture projects and how much trouble they would probably have for the most part going forward. And if you look at Nevermind, if you kept your money not in stable coins, you got whacked just by holding in Ethereum, right? Never mind if you got a little bit greedy and tried keeping it in something like whatever, FTX, BlockFi, any of the many interest-bearing things.
Voyager.
The list goes on and on. Or if you are us, right? That didn't work out well for us personally. And so you have these situations where what you thought was your treasure chest or war chest, basically, it has shrunk considerably. And what you thought was your month to month revenue coming in has shrunk precipitously. It's really tough. And then on top of that, the overall excitement of the NFT marketplace in general, never mind for your specific project, is coming down. So how are you going to reinvigorate? Like you can't just sell a third fucking project or collection under your project.
It's really dire straits for a lot. However, if you kept your money in art blocks, you're probably doing okay. Art blocks
very well
performed,
relatively speaking. I mean, if you got it in August of last year and kept it in art blocks, you did not do well. But if you bought it most other times,
as long as you didn't buy the absolute top or close to that, you're probably holding up okay in ETH terms and even decently in USD terms. We'll get to that in a second in the art block section. Do you have anything else to say about marketplaces, royalties?
I think we covered it pretty well for now.
So the other thing we have on News of the Week is Stripe introducing Fiat-To-Crypto on-ramp. Basically a widget that now anyone, like Stripe is this massive payment processor that tons and tons of websites use.
Fintech, it's called.
Fintech.
Yeah, financial tech company.
Where if you go to a website, you want to buy something, Stripe just provides the infrastructure to allow you to go, all right, I'll pay with a credit card.
Yeah, they basically just have APIs that talk to banks and then talk to web front ends, basically. And they abstract away all of that stuff, make it so very easily for people.
For both ends, like as a company, if you're trying to sell something, bam, you just like one drag and drop basically. And if you're a consumer buying something, it's all done. And I think this is huge news that they've announced that they're basically introducing a widget, like a thing, another drag and drop type thing, where if you're a company or an individual, anyone selling something, a product or a service, and you want to accept payment in crypto, previously it was like potentially a little complicated. You had to set up your own wallet, or you had to find like a different provider that maybe wasn't as large as Stripe, but Stripe is just so well known, established, proven themselves legit.
You're liable already to be using them for your fiat.
Exactly.
And credit card stuff.
Like so many people use them that I think it's now unlocking just so much more potential to just buy stuff with crypto. Like,
right.
I remember even it was probably like 2017, I think, when you bought your sauna, right? You're in ETH, and there was very few websites. Used it today, where you went to some, I don't know,
it was overstock.com. Overstock.com used to accept payment in lots of cryptocurrencies. Yeah. And at the time I had kind of a lot of ETH and Bitcoin and would, I didn't want to just cash it out for money because that was boring. But every once in a while I'd buy some random stuff on Overstock. And the big thing I got was a sauna, which is in my basement now, and I love it.
That's really cool. And now, people will be able to buy kind of anything, ostensibly, which is huge. And it's just like, I think it's another like point of validation for like crypto being a legit currency that people will use. Now people just start seeing it. They go to checkout and they're like, oh, Bitcoin, it's everywhere now.
Because ultimately, if you get rid of all of the stuff that's theoretically built on top, right? They're meant to be payment rails, right? It's meant to be money or a replacement for what we have as money. But there's just so few, there's lots of people that have it and wouldn't mind using it for that. But there's historically been very few actual avenues of using it to not buy something else within the crypto universe, so to speak. So basically, any sort of pathways between the real traditional financial world and the crypto world, are validating to crypto. And this is an enormous one. Stripe is basically the fintech company, at least in the Western world. Over in China, they're everything's on WeChat, basically.
We're like a hop, skip, and a jump away from just having an app on your phone, not an Apple phone, an Android phone, where you just go to your coffee shop and just like scan it and like Apple Pay, but whatever, Android Pay.
Google Wallet, I believe it's called.
Google Wallet, where, you just, maybe you fund an account with crypto or just comes to that. Whatever. It's just like, we're very close to that reality. Sure.
And like
years,
Polygon or
people
whatever, you could be doing it.
exactly the transaction costs are going to be negligible. For years, people have been talking about, all right, but you still can't even buy coffee with Bitcoin. You still
Right.
can't buy it just doesn't. Maybe we're not that far
I also
off.
think too, like when we're talking about sort of negligible transaction fees, right? I don't know how many regular consumers actually know how much these credit card companies are charging businesses. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you look at the gas fees on the faster throughput networks, it's not even comparable. Even though, again, I think a lot of consumers are rounding it down to zero in their head because it's all in the price of the product to them, but how much of that is actually going to the company versus going to Visa is impressive for Visa. Very good business model for Visa.
What is it like? I'm thinking it's like 2 to 3%, but
there's sort of a varied thing, but I think a lot of times it's like a 25% fee plus 1.5%, something like that. But I think there's some level of like bargaining power that the different places have.
Yeah. Anyway, big news, bullish news.
That has been news of the week.
News of the week. Art blocks.
And
generative
art in general. Although I don't think we actually have any in general stuff today. We can think of something as we go, I'm sure.
We can think of something. We do have one thing. But let's kick it off with, currently Art Blocks is going through the Block Talkathon, Art Blockathon. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's this 24-hour event where they're just having nonstop hourly, I think, Twitter Spaces.
It's a 2-year anniversary, right? That's the idea.
I think maybe it's celebrating the 2-year anniversary. The 2-year anniversary was a little while ago. It happened in November. So anyway, we should know more. I'm sorry, I feel a bit out of touch with.
I'm trying to guess why it would be happening now, and that was what made the most sense to me.
I'm gonna quickly look it up, but this is some good podcasting. First ever Block Talkathon on December 8th, and we'll go live for 24 hours to celebrate our 2-year anniversary.
Nailed it.
So the anniversary happened last month, but they're celebrating it now. Well,
apology accepted.
Well, so this is cool. I'm looking at the schedule now, and there's like tons of different things. There's like the Art Blocks engine. There's on building creative code communities. There's Squiggle DAO, friendship bracelets. But then there's also Art Blocks in Spanish for an hour, Art Blocks in Japanese, Art Block in French, in Dutch, in Portuguese, in Italian. I love that. I love that so much.
What language besides English do you speak the most of? And I know for you it's very little of everything. Is it German at this point? You did so bad at learning German, though.
I'm terrible. So my parents are in town. My dad, I was gonna say my dad and my mum, and then they both lived here in Germany like 50 years ago. Almost,
I didn't know that. I don't
exactly.
think.
They did. So before moving to Australia, they moved to Australia in the 70s and moved to Germany, I think, in 1969. And so, yeah, they learned German. My dad learned, I think, more fluent. He lived here a little longer and had to learn it even more for work. And he still speaks and understands quite a bit. My mom even understands. So, like, 50 years, they haven't been back in 50 years.
You've been living here for 3 years straight.
I've been living here consistently for 3.5 years, and they know more than me. It's pathetic, but it is what it is. I would say, yes, German is the language I speak second most, and third would probably be Hindi, even though I don't speak it much. But maybe when I'm in India, I definitely understand it more than any other language other than English. How about you?
Spanish. Yeah, Spanish.
Yeah.
But also very little.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going on in Art Blocks. A bunch of excitement in the Discord, on Twitter. Cool things are happening. Just Art Blocks, generative art, it's having a moment again. It's like every month or two this year, it's like things are popping off again, and there's a bunch of excitement and momentum, and things are popping off again. Gazers are like 40 ETH, 30 ETH.
That's crazy. They just keep going.
They just keep going.
I think when they were maybe like 8-ish, I was putting in good bids at 5.5 or 6 trying to get it, and that was basically my last effort to grab them, and then they were just gone.
When they were like between 8 and 10, and anticyclones were around that price, and I have like 6 or 7 anticyclones, I was like, I should sell some of those and buy some gazers, and I just didn't, and now I'm infinitely regretting it. But life goes on.
It does.
There was a few recent drops. Probably the most notable one is Love, which is a like collaboration between the ATP Tour, which is a tennis tour,
The tennis,
which is very interesting. The tennis tour. The Art Blocks engine and generative artist Martin Grasser, and I think these are fantastic. They look really, to me, they look kind of like if Grant Yun did gen art in the style of tennis.
He did some gen art, actually. He has a project called Primera.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He also,
that's very cool.
Mostly does not gen art, obviously, but also clearly has a deep appreciation for it. He talks about squiggles and cadenzas a good amount, for instance. Yeah.
Anyway, very cool collab, very cool collection. I don't have any, unfortunately. Do you? Did you get any?
No. It was a pretty small collection, and I assumed I would let all the people that are really into tennis or wanting to sell to people that are really into tennis later fight over it rather than me getting involved.
That's fair. 300 pieces in the edition. Floor is 2.2 ETH right now. I would love to get 1 or 2, but
I have been building up a little bit of a list of art I want to buy once I have my 2022 taxes squared away. So that's been a fun list. Well, I don't want to reveal it and let our listeners get front run much, but nothing too expensive. There's some medium level expensive stuff that I'll try for, but there's a lot of cheaper stuff that I'll just grab.
Cool.
I was actually going to start getting some of it, the other day, but then I had a bunch of loan offers accepted on NFT-Fi, so I got sort of rugged in that sense.
Yeah. Loaning. Go on.
I was going to say, I told you about my bit finally had the fat finger mistake on NFT-Fi. So brutal. I meant to offer 0.3 ETH on something. Instead offered 3 ETH and they accepted.
That is, well, inevitable.
Yeah. So that's
kind of
essentially going to be a loss of 2.4 probably.
Yeah. What was it on?
Geometry, no compute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give it a year.
It's also it's the borrower is somebody that always pays back and that I have personally done tons of loans to. So I actually think there's like a tiny chance that just out of, the professional relationship or whatever, I mean, tiny, that they'll do it, but it's not a complete random that is just like saw this, grabbed it, and it's the only time they've ever used NFT-Fi. Like, I think I probably have 6 loans out to this person right now, for instance.
Wow. Well, fingers crossed.
If they're listening, please repay it. I would really appreciate that, but obviously you don't have to.
Yeah. Upblocks just announced their most recent upcoming Upblocks. The next curator drop, Dipolar.
Now this is the first one since. I'm just kidding.
Oh god, this is like the 5th one since they stopped the seasons.
Since season 8 ended.
Yeah. Dipolar by Junior Farquhar or Unia.
How dare
Farquhar? You? How would you pronounce it?
Farquhar. I would just sort of Junior.
Okay. Farquhar.
Yeah, I think so. It's a guess, obviously. Now, I looked at this.
I love these.
I like it a lot too. I looked at it briefly before this, and I swear the art looks so familiar that I thought I must be following this person because I think I've seen it, and I still think that's true. But I only checked Twitter in the pre, and I couldn't find them. But I think maybe on Instagram because this pen plotting style looks super duper familiar to me. I'm gonna probably investigate more after the podcast because now I'm really quite curious. Do I already follow this person?
Yeah. It's got a really neat drawing style and aesthetic. The background is like textured like paper, and the entire piece is like drawn in singular brushstrokes, like one by one.
Not even brushstrokes. It's more looks like pen. And I think they said it's
pen strokes.
Each piece is going to come with an SVG file. So if you have a pen plotter, you can create one of these.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm not gonna read the entire description, but it says here, Dipolar tries to answer the question, what would electromagnetism look like in 2 dimensions? So by that, you should immediately know exactly what this collection looks like.
It's pretty accurate though, right? It looks like they're drawing 2-dimensional representations of electromagnetic fields. You know how you see sort of the pole, like, by the way, the people that are just listening, this isn't helping at all. But
Jamie's waving his hands around.
Yeah, I look like a bad conductor or something.
You do.
Well,
for those of us who didn't study physics at college, our understanding of electromagnetic fields is a little harder to conceptualize.
Study is a strong word for what I did in college, but I take your point.
There's this new thing on, well, I don't know how new it is. I haven't seen it before on art blocks, where now you can explore the algorithm. So previously they had like the staging area where the artist would do a bunch of samples and you can go through and peruse them.
Right.
But now you can just go on the collection page, click on explore algorithm, and just
mint fake
keep
ones,
hitting refresh.
Basically.
Yeah. And just
Not
it's
mint,
really cool.
Generate.
Yeah. Generate. I love this collection. The collection size is quite small. That's probably noteworthy as well. It's 255, which is I think now the 3rd smallest collection. Used to be elevated deconstruction, and then pre-process came out at 120 a couple of weeks ago, and now this one. So definitely seems like we're gonna see more and more lower.
I mean, they specifically had said that as they moved away from the seasons, this is going to allow them more freedom to do stuff like that specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm obsessed. I'm just staring at these now. I should actually, you know what? I hate these. These are bad. You should, if you're listening,
I see what you're doing here.
You should not mint these.
So explore possibilities is the button you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
just
that isn't
sit there. And
now, does it exist for like previous collections too, like Fidenzas, for instance?
It's a very good question.
You can generate out of bounds ones.
I don't know. It'd be cool if it did. There's no real reason for it not to. I think. I mean, certainly people have set up their own generators and websites, definitely. And anyway, that is coming up on. Okay, for starters, it'll be the final release of this year, which kind of makes sense. We're well into December already, so December 14th, Wednesday, December 14th at 12 p.m. Central Time.
I just pulled up Fidenzas on Art Blocks. It doesn't have it, but I just was reminded of how good of art it is. Number 826 popped up, and it's very beautiful.
Fidenzas, they're great.
They are.
So, you know where you can explore the algorithm? There's this new website. It has to be new. I hadn't heard of it until recently. Sansa.xyz, SANSA.xyz. And it's kind of like just a really excellent marketplace aggregator for generative art. Kind of similar to what
Archipelago
was doing until they sadly announced that they would be shutting down operations soon. But dare I say, I kind of think I like Sansa even more. It seems like it has more features, one of which is this explore algorithm feature, and you can go and explore the Fidenza algorithm and just generate Fidenzas if you want. It has an upcoming projects feature, so it's like really easy to keep on top of what projects are coming up. And now I'm just sitting here generating Fidenzas. Like this is great. I can do this all day.
Now, are you generating ones, or are you just seeing samples of actual ones? Do you know the difference for sure?
I believe it's generating because it says example token 313,840.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very easily doable.
Yeah. What else? What else generative art? Have you been doing much collecting, buying, anything?
So like I said, I've been making a list. I'm not checking it twice. Not going to find out who's naughty or nice. I don't know if... Does that mean anything
Christmas,
to you?
Santa Claus is coming to town.
I don't, you guys don't eat peanut butter and jelly.
What are you talking about,
I don't know if you have the same Christmas songs as us. I have been making a list of stuff I want to buy, and I've been...
Yeah, we have a kangaroo song.
I don't know. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't celebrate all the same holidays as us. Who knows?
This is true.
I've been making a shopping list, and I'm getting excited to do my own art again. I'm going to be participating in January, which is basically a once a day prompt for generative artists, and it happens during January. They did it last year. I think they've done it maybe 3 years in a row now. And so they generate 31 different prompts, and then you have to just kind of create a piece based on that, and then you share with social media if you want to or not. I will be. And I'm
Very
excited
cool.
about it. I'm fucking rusty, so I maybe should spend the last 2 weeks of this year knocking off some of the rust, so I don't get frustrated and quit by day 4. But I'm definitely excited to kind of be and probably honestly to interact with GPT-3 along the way for help, because it seems like such a powerful tool, which is crazy.
God, GPT-3. Let's have an AI section. Let's just from now on, this podcast also talks about AI.
I don't consent to this, but certainly we'll talk about it on some episodes. I don't think I can just flat out say every episode should have a section on AI now.
All right, today we'll talk about AI. How much?
Didn't we do this a lot last? I mean, we can do it this time too, but we definitely talked about it last week. We did.
How much have you used ChatGPT?
Not a lot. I mean, it wasn't until yesterday that you told me about the playground version or whatever, because I was stuck on the regular one and was not getting good results from it. And so I've been using it a little bit on this new one, and it's interesting for sure. But I still don't know about the different, options on the toolbar on the right or whatever. I feel like I would need to know about that stuff. Excuse me, to get full value out of it.
I actually don't even use a playground much at all.
I use the regular one,
just the ChatGPT.
Interesting.
And then you just have to finagle your way around some of the filters or
see, I tried a little bit of that because I definitely saw people saying on Twitter well, pretend like you could do it or whatever, and getting it to work, and I was not having a lot of success doing that. But more so with the playground. But the playground one, it's you do a prompt and then you submit it, and then it's their response and your thing is all in the text rather than a back and forth conversation. So I'm not really sure how to keep going on it. Which is an issue, but I think on the top right, it's got a Q&A option or whatever. But
someone
it's amazing, obviously.
In the 333, pretty sure it was Joe Payne. He might have been someone else, but he said
sounds like a video game character. Joe Payne.
Yeah, I could see that. He could be
Max Payne.
Max Payne, right. And anyway, he basically spent 2-3 hours with it and had it create an entire brand new strategy game with different parties, teams, characters with different abilities, power, all strategies, and had it play against itself and have a leaderboard. And it was just within a couple hours, you just have a whole brand new game.
Yeah, I saw on the internet, I think it was maybe a Twitter thread that some guy was given 12 examples or whatever, and some 13-year-old kid made a quite popular game with it. I think it's some sort of text-based dungeon thing. I'm not actually even sure.
Yeah.
But apparently, lots of people on the internet are playing this game now.
Oh God.
As well as there was one other interesting one on the list that just was in my mind and it's gone now, and I'm not even going to bother trying to think of it. And then maybe
our lives as we know them are over, Jamie. The next year is going to
disagree.
Disrupt. Well, our lives are probably okay. Our lives are probably not going to change that much. We're going to still turn up and chat, but maybe one day AI Roy will be here. You won't even know the difference. I'll just be. That's a scary thing. I think at a certain point, being able to discern what's reality and what's not is going to get increasingly more difficult as AI gets increasingly more sophisticated, and videos are able to be created that are indistinguishable from a regular video.
There's pros and cons to it, but the scale of it is so big that it can be unpleasant maybe to think about if you have enough of a negative worldview. So now, you're talking about AI, Roy, right now. Have you ever seen, for instance, a story online where, on a racing game, they'll show you if you're playing single player it'll show you basically a ghost of your fastest ever time on that level.
Yeah.
I saw like somebody posted that basically they used to play with their dad. Their dad passed away, and their dad had the fastest thing on the track, right? And then they played it, and they were like going to pass them, and they stopped, so that way they would keep their dad's thing with them forever. Sweet little story, but you're talking about AI, Roy. The degree to which people will still be able to interact with something that is in so many ways so close and evocative, basically, of the real loved one that they no longer have access to, seems kind of awesome in a lot of ways.
There are already companies like specializing in that, where they're like, I can't
Very
remember the
Black
name of it,
Mirror,
but I saw
right?
this. Yeah, I saw this the other day, and they were like, you can use our service, upload any like video recordings, audio, any pictures of your loved one, and you'll be able to like have a conversation with them whenever you want and just chat with them.
Yeah.
And that is only going to get just better as time goes on. It's just
by a lot. Yeah.
I saw a tweet by Sam Altman, who is the founder of OpenAI, that built ChatGPT, and that all of this noise is happening because of that. And he said that the most important things for a person to have, or like traits over the next several years, the coming in the near future, are adaptability and resilience. Just because it is so unpredictable exactly how things are going to shake out and what's going to happen. It's kind of unprecedented. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, this is like the dawn of the internet all over again, but maybe even to an even more significant degree. It's really blowing my mind. The more I look into it, the more I'm like, holy crap! It's just
it's a weird
like
thing
else.
Because when the internet dawned, we were too young to be able to understand society and all of that well enough to understand the potential by which this new technology could change it. So it's very hard, I would say, for people like us to compare it. And there's probably only, for the most part, right, a sort of sharp age range where you were old enough for that, but also not too old to be like scared and dismissive of this, and have sort of a balanced idea of what could be bigger. I'm trying to figure out if there's a level of unpredictability at the beginning of the internet to what that technology was going to do. Whereas this, even though in some respects is much more powerful, is more predictable in terms of what it will do. And then, the unpredictable part to me is the scale of it, and just how out of bounds it'll get. Because, the internet, like, I've talked about this specific thing before, but when people started out wanting to monetize their websites on the internet, they basically just did what newspapers did and basically put ads right there, banner ads they were called, right, on their website, as if they were ads from a newspaper. And it was not a particularly effective thing. And it wasn't until we sort of discovered and invented the internet native forms of advertising that you were really able to. And it's in some ways sad that advertising is like the biggest thing to come out of the internet in a lot of ways, but that's what all the huge internet companies are advertising companies. But so it seems like to me, when the internet first came out and where it is now, you had an idea that being able to connect all these different networks of computers was going to have large implications for the sharing of stuff. But the social medias and the proliferation of not just information, but fake information and stuff like that. I feel like that was in a lot of ways something that would be very difficult to predict accurately. Whereas it feels like a lot of this AI stuff, it's just sort of, it's going to automate and improve upon the stuff that humans already do. And it's not going to be until it's like really doing stuff that humans can't already do or can't think of having it do yet, that it'll be able to fully, blow our minds and do stuff that we can't. Because right now, right, we're just sort of having it do a really good job of Googling for us or writing code for us, or pontificating about which army would win in a fight, this one or this one, which is what I was prompting it about the other day. Those are all things that humans can do, and maybe we would do them slower and in some cases worse. And it feels like right now we're seeing an increase in that. And obviously, you know, all the art generating stuff that we've seen that AI can do before Chat GPT-3 became the hot thing. Is another thing where it's just, okay, it's taking sort of the jobs of illustrators and graphic designers, but what happens after that when we start doing AI stuff that is AI native rather than just the AI version of this thing that we were already doing?
Yeah, that's when things get really crazy and unpredictable. Yeah.
I mean, I guess, you know, the thing where we're talking about storing a AI version of a deceased loved one, that's a thing that really was not. I mean, we had photographs or whatever and recordings, but that's not the fucking same at all.
No, you know what? We're really. This probably could exist today. Whereas in like the Harry Potter movies and books, where like someone would have like a portrait on the wall, and the portrait would talk to you as you walk by and interact with you. We could do that now. Like you could, basically, and certainly in the next 5 years, 10 years, I think that will just be like commonplace. You could just have portraits of your loved ones in your house and just be saying hello to them. Good morning. How's your day? And like that. I don't think our psyches are built for that. We've lived for
no. I mean, we have
forever
certainly
with death being permanent, and now we just have,
yeah. I mean, we've definitely already done lots of stuff. I would say with this technology that is stuff that our brains are the capacity is not really there for us to be able to handle it, and yet we are forced to, right? You know, the speed with which we can deliver dopamine to ourselves with these devices is crazy, and is not at all like anything that humans have had to deal with on a, you know, distributed all across the stratas of society. You know, if you were a emperor or whatever, you could ask for any sort of pleasurable thing at any time or whatever, and have some semblance of the same kind of thing. But now, you know, almost everybody has a smartphone with internet access that can just kind of deliver these quick hits of whatever to you. And that is something I think that we're not designed for. And this AI stuff is just sort of going to be an extension of more shit that technology makes that we have not evolved to be able to handle yet.
Yeah. Fascinating years ahead. Yeah. Well, this has been the generative art and art block section.
Sorry, I was going to say, you know,
I just saw a beautiful dipolar. Anyway,
great.
You know, I'll never get to mint.
When we guested on the Waiting to Be Signed podcast, we had sort of near the end of it a somewhat extended conversation about AI art and its impact on the art scene in general, and maybe more specifically on the generative art thing. So, you know, you're kind of joking about how we're talking so much about AI and the generative art thing, but there's sort of a pretty natural extension of it. And also, specifically, I was talking about using this tool to help me in January when I'm making my generative art. I mean, it's there.
We have a community member in Zen Academy, Athens Brightest, who used GPT-3 over the last week over the last like 3 days to create a generative art project. He's not a generative artist. He asked the right questions and put it together, and it's just like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
All right. This has been Art Blocks.
I Googled per capita rice consumption, and one of the suggested fill-ins was Philippines. So we'll see. This is interesting. I got an answer, though.
So I have to guess?
Well, we have to be on the air for it, I think.
All right. Let's wait, I've lost the thing. I don't really feel the need to talk about Zen Academy or my projects.
Okay.
Should we just go straight to this trivia and wrap it up?
Sure. Giveaway. So we talked earlier about this rice consumption thing, per capita rice consumption. You feel like the Philippines is extremely high. And I have a list here that basically gives me, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The top 15, I'm sure I could get even more if I wanted to, but let's say the top 10. Do you want to try and maybe you make 10 guesses and we'll see how many out of 10 you can get, or try and
Wow.
guess number 1, 2, 3, or any? What do you want to do? I have the information. You tell me what you think you can do. And, Philippines specifically, maybe you can tell me where you think they fall.
Sure. Let's go top 5.
Okay. And you just name the 5 countries. You don't need to put them in order, and we'll see how you do.
All right. Philippines, Japan, China, India, and Nepal.
Nepal, that's interesting. Okay, you went 0 for 5.
Wow.
The closest you came was the Philippines, which is number 7.
Okay.
At it looks like about 180 kilograms per year per person.
That is so much rice.
That is a lot of rice.
That's a half a kilo a day.
By the way, Bangladesh is at about 270 kilograms. They're the leader.
Wow. I almost said Bangladesh.
Yeah, I mean, you said India, which is sort of the same, right? Up until 1940, whatever.
Yeah.
It was all 3 of those countries with Pakistan. Now, after Bangladesh is Laos right behind, and then there's a pretty big drop-off to Cambodia, then Vietnam, then Indonesia. Now,
interesting.
Yeah, next one is... Next one is not even in Asia, which is, I think, the most interesting.
What is
maybe
it?
Sierra Leone.
Huh. Okay, that is interesting.
Nepal is on the list, which I was sort of surprised about. They're number 13. Yeah. China 15. Japan not even on here.
That is kind of wild.
India not even on here.
Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, because in my mind they eat a lot of noodles, and
sort of if they're rice noodles, one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Because not every noodle is a wheat noodle, especially in Asia.
It's the motto of our podcast: not every noodle is a wheat noodle.
So how about this? The giveaway, you have to give us the top 2 countries or the top country. Does that sound...
The top country.
Yeah, the top country. Yeah. So the answer is Bangladesh. That is the code word to be eligible for the giveaway. And
there'll be a link in the show notes, a pre-mint thing, sign up. What are we giving away? I'll give away a Zancan Lush Temples.
Ooh, nice.
Which is a piece of art. I'll give away
a Tezos piece as well.
Cool. So drop your Tezos wallet.
Now, do we want to give away 2 to 1 winner or 1 to 2 different winners? Probably 1 to 2 winners, right? Twice as many people will be happy. Yeah, we'll do that. Your person will probably be happier because they're getting a Zancan, but... Right. Now, like, one person's maybe going to be less happy, so... Do you want to give away 2 then? I'll give away 2. Yeah, we'll give away 2, and they'll each get 1 Zancan and then 1 lesser Jaime piece. Okay. Done deal. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Donate blood. Wear your seatbelt. What's your thing? Wear your seatbelt. Drink water. I think people don't drink enough water in general. I'll accept that. I've started drinking more water. I'm running out here. There you go. Yeah, I gotta. Cool. All right. Thanks for listening.